Put your hands together for Brian Mackenwells.
Okay, so hello everyone. Hello. Thank you. My name is Brian Mackenwells, and I'm here to talk about myself because there's, if you're going to do stand-up, you might as well be narcissistic. Specifically, I'm going to talk about my own name. So my surname is a made-up name. There are only 3 people in the world who have it. Me, my wife, and our daughter, Robin. Now this is because you might have figured out that when me and my wife got married, we kind of smushed our names together to make a new name. So before the wedding, I was Mackin and my wife was Wells, and we put it together into Mackenwells without the dash, and because we thought it just sounded like a real name, right? And it's better than the alternative, which is Wells Smackin. And we knew we wanted to have a child, and could you imagine going through school and a name like that? Child cruelty. So, well, I'm going to focus more on the Mackin part, this was sort of my name growing up, if you like. It's an Irish name, it's a name you only really get in Ireland, and it is what you might describe as an easy Irish name. Which is to say that all the people here in this country can't say it without help. Unlike these people, who are all people I know, who have a dog's life in this country. So let's go through them, shall we? Test time. Very good. No, Deering. Good. Fine. Seriously, yeah, you all know that one, don't you? Yeah, we know why you know. Word, that's impressive. You got that one. Wirrin. A father elongates the vowel noise. May. Yeah, very good. Are there any Irish people in? Side. Very good. So one person. So the reason none of you Brits can actually pronounce these is not because they're hard to pronounce, it's because they are in a different language. They are actually not in English, these names. These are in Irish, or Irish's word for itself is Gaeilge. Okay? Now, Ireland has its own language. It has its own flag. And that's because Ireland is, in fact, a totally different country. I have met people, grown-ups, with pensions and jobs who didn't know that. They presumably thought that Ireland was some weird part of the UK that just never had any weather. Now, Irish is the national, it is strictly the first language of Ireland, and all Irish people learn it in school. It is still a living language, although not everyone speaks it every day or very often, particularly well sometimes. But it is the official language that we all study, and lots of parts of the country do speak it on a day-to-day basis. And it's a better language than English. Okay? Oh, controversial. Oh, well, will you hear this? Because there's a concept in linguistics called orthographic depth. Okay, you get languages which are orthographically deep and languages which are shallow. Now, Irish is an example of a shallow language, which means it's consistent. Okay, so every time you see the letter C in an Irish word, it is always a hard C. There is never an exception. A BH is always a V. No exceptions. Okay, there are 11 irregular verbs total in the whole language. You learn them off in school and you're done. Right? You can work out every verb. English, on the other hand, is a deep language, okay? Which means that it's a nightmare. It has over 300 irregular verbs. It has no proper future tense. And it is full of words like salmon and island, which follow no rules. They're just traps laid for non-native speakers, and that's it. Okay? it's more consistent. Now, it makes it better if you're dyslexic and you're interested in learning a new language. Irish is a good one for that, apparently. Consistency helps. Now, my surname, surname, is written in English, but it comes from an older Irish surname, Macon. Okay? And you see this a lot with Irish surnames. It's that they're written in sort of English, but they're actually an Irish name that's been given a coat of English paint. Now, you can guess who did that. Yes, the Empire did that. Thank you very much. But if you scrape away the English and you get to the Irish, you can actually get more detail out of it, and you can learn more about it. So my surname, for instance, Macon, Mac is Irish for son. Okay, so you see that a lot, like MacDonald and stuff like that, sort of Irish and Scottish names. Mac means son, and on is you put it at the end of a noun to make it the diminutive version of that noun. So a youngest son, right? So one of my ancestors was a youngest son. So this is information in my surname that is not there in the English part because it was painted over. And you see that a lot in Irish place names as well. So for instance, my grandparents are from a place called the Knoll, okay, in County Dublin. And in Irish, his name is An Al, okay? Now, An means that, and Al means cliff, right? So, like, Irish place names are very, very often embedded in the landscape in a way that the English versions are not, okay? Because what happened was, the English Empire came along, and in the 19th century, some English bloke went to a local guy and went, "What's this place called?" You don't have to shout. An Al, and they were like, "No, good, thank you, goodbye." Because they didn't care. And because when you're like an invading force and you want to control a place, you try and kill its language and culture, and you do that by erasing it in every official place. And so that's what they did with our place names. Interestingly, locally, the of the cliff survives. So local people will say, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the Knoll." So my grandparents, they ran the shop in the Knoll. Okay, you wouldn't say the Dublin or the London, but the sort of survives in how people speak English. Ardnagapri is another example of how this sort of process happened. It's in Donegal, and it comes from the Irish Ardnagapri, and this means Ard is heights, and Capri is sandwich. Sandwich Heights. This is a lovely story. Why? Oh, there's a ridge in this town, like a big tall ridge, and on one side was the Catholic Church, and on the other side of this ridge was the graveyard. Now, you guys made us do that. So, when there was a funeral, right, the whole community go to the funeral, and in order to get the body to the cemetery, they had to climb this ridge, and they would stop on the top and have sandwiches. So it's called Sandwich Heights. Right? It's a lovely story that's embedded in the Irish, not the English. Tom Lugee in Wicklow. Gui means wind. Tone means arse. Windy Arse is the name of this place. Lost in the English. And you see this all the time, actually, that in Ireland, the Irish language is embedded underneath everything, okay? Even in how we speak English. So as an Irishman living in England, sooner or later what happens is somebody who's trying to be funny asks you to pronounce this number. Yes, because they're hoping I'll say dirty tree and a turd. Don't do that, I've heard it before. So, the way we say three is uniquely amusing to English people. But there's a reason we do. We don't, because we go, 1, 2, 3, right? But that's because in Irish, to say the number 3 is T-R-I fada, which is pronounced tree. Hain do tree. Right? That's why we say tree. Okay? And there's loads of examples of this, like tis. Like Irish people say tis, right? Tis a lovely day. Sure it is. You know, that's because in Irish you don't get yes and no, right? You use the verb, again, in positive and negative. But if you have to use yes or no, you say it is, you say tá, or it isn't Neil, right? So it comes from the Irish, right? All of these sort of weird idiosyncrasies. And that means that if you're Irish, you're kind of speaking Irish even if you don't mean to, and even if you don't listen in your sort of school Irish lessons. And I did not listen in my school Irish lessons. I was a very bad sort of language student. But especially since having a daughter 2 years ago, I've gone back to it and I'm relearning it as an adult. RIP my 211-day streak from 2 years ago. Yeah. Oh. So, thank you. I know. It's sad. But, I'm relearning it and I'm speaking Irish to my daughter and I'm getting books from Ireland, like kids' books in Irish, so that she can learn and speak Irish as well, so that she has access to that part of her heritage that's built into her the same way it's built into me. Because she is going to be English, and that's fine. Obviously she has an Irish passport. She's Irish. So, now, I'm obviously only half the story, okay? My wife is German, South African, and so my daughter is going to be English, Irish, German, South African, so no one is going to understand a word she says. But hopefully by sharing our language with her in this way, we'll at least three of us will be able to understand each other. Thank you very much.